German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and Russian President Vladimir Putin have again spoken on the phone for just under an hour. According to the Kremlin, Putin accused Ukraine of trying to stall peace talks with unrealistic proposals. But he said Russia is prepared to find solutions to the conflict. That's a claim the West is skeptical about. Scholz urged Putin to implement a ceasefire as soon as possible and to improve the humanitarian situation in Ukraine. Let's get more on this now from DW correspondent Emily Sherman, who was based in our Moscow bureau until it was shut down by the Russian government. Emily, tell us more about this phone call between Chancellor Scholz and Vladimir Putin.
Well, judging from the Kremlin readout, the main focus, of course, was Ukraine. There doesn't seem to have been much progress on the situation there. It was more of a chance, it seems at least, for Putin to present the Russian view to Olaf Scholz, his German counterpart. We heard a lot of what we've been hearing from Russian officials in the last few days as well, which is that the West is ignoring the Ukrainian bombing of Donetsk. They've been talking a lot about the children of Donetsk and how they've been suffering for years and years. That's part of the narrative. The Russian army is apparently doing everything that they can to protect civilians and to create civilian corridors. We've just seen, reports before, about Mariupol and the situation there, the civilians under siege. There were reports this week of, a theater being bombed in Mariupol where many civilians were sheltering as well. Putin, made it clear his view, which is that civilians aren't being hurt. And the most interesting thing, I think, is that he did mention also the talks, the ongoing talks with the Ukrainian side. He said that it's the Ukrainian side that's trying to slow things down when the Russians are willing to talk. So that seems to be the beginning almost of a kind of blame game, which is a strategy that we've seen in recent years as well from Russians.
Well, earlier today, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov gave an interview to the pro-Kremlin channel RT, where he talked about the future of the Ukrainian-Russian relationship. What did he say, and what could that mean for the peace talks?
Well, I found it interesting that the interviewer asked Lavrov about the end of this conflict at all, because, we're kind of getting mixed signals about these peace negotiations. That almost is, I think, a positive sign that they're talking at all about the fact that this conflict could end soon, Lavrov talked about close ties, cultural ties between Russia and Ukraine. He even talked about the fact that he himself has friends in Ukraine, and it's just a shame, as he said, that Ukrainians have been indoctrinated by the West when actually there's this historical closeness. Of course, that is rhetoric that we've heard a lot from Russia as well, about basically the Ukrainian people being the same people as the Russians. But when it comes to talks, I think we're getting mixed signals, because on the one hand, we're having this talk about the end of the conflict, and on the other hand, this increasing talk about the fact that it's the Ukrainians slowing down talks, which is something that we've heard in the past when it comes to, for example, the Minsk agreement on peace in Ukraine as well. This blame game.
Talking about future relationships, Lavrov said that his country has lost any illusion that they can ever rely on the West again. What are we to make of that, briefly, if you can?
Again, I've been talking about the rhetoric, right? The West is increasingly accused by Russia of not following the world order, not following the rules, whereas Russia is following the rules of international order. Lavrov likes to cite, various documents in great detail. The narrative is very much the West is against us, but we will prevail, and that applies to sanctions as well.
Emily Sherman there. Thank you very much, Emily.